strength continues in the Indian markets with the benchmarks registering the fourth straight day of gains and the Nifty closing higher by another 0.5%. Hello and welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil. We have seen the Nifty advance by as much as 44 points, and in terms of the gainers, then something like Tata Motors giving substantial up move, up as much as 8.5%. It's followed by something like an Eicher Motors, State Bank of India and Bajaj Finance, Bharti Airtel among others, which are also up and about, with TCS Power Grid and Yes Bank also gaining quite substantially, lending to strength. On the losing end, we have Z Entertainment down 2.8% after the exchanges indicate a further selling of two promoter entities, followed by BPCL, Bajaj Auto, Britannia and Sun Pharma among others under tad bit of pressure. But save for Z Entertainment, the momentum clearly is with those which are gaining. And on the broader markets, we are looking at, well, a fairly evenly spread advance decline ratio, even though we have more declines in comparison to advances on the NSE 500. But growth-rich properties, of course, up as much as 9.8% on record bookings that the company has reported for the quarter gone by. Suzlon Energy also advancing, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, Tata Motors, of course, from the large cap space, BEL, GET&D and Naveen Fluorine all up and about in trade. Now Cyient, of course, on the other hand, we're going to talk about that in a little more detail, down 11%. Vodafone Idea, Deepak Fertilizers, NBCC, Reliance Communications, Gateway District Park, among others. And the picture is not very different in the broader markets too, where the momentum is clearly with the gainers. But on that note, I'm going to get in our markets editor, Neeraj Shah, for his thoughts. Neeraj, well, we're trickling ever so slightly towards the lifetime high for the Nifty.
Yeah, it is, and a bit of a surprise really, because not too many people anticipated this. When we started the countdown show, the Nifty bank was in the red. Yes. Just that managed to move back into the green. So some banking stocks did well. Some buying seen in names like Bajaj Finance, etc. For example, they did okay, right. And heavyweights didn't correct. But ho-hum kind of day of trade. Don't really know what to make out of this. Global markets are very supportive. We didn't do as much in trade today, maybe bogged down by the fact that what escapes everybody's eye and all its momentum is crude, having done so well in the recent past and now northwards of 70 or thereabouts for Brent. So what does all of that do? But in light of that fact, I think we've done reasonably okay. Let's see, maybe the markets will stay quiet tomorrow and day after ahead of the RBI policy, because that is the big elephant in the room. Until then, I mean, might be up, but it will be surprising to see if there is a lot of gyration ahead of that policy meet. So maybe wait for that and then take a call on what the direction could be, if anything. Right,
absolutely. Well, so we keep an eye on the RBI policy. But Neeraj, thank you for that perspective there. Well, overall, it's turned out to be a good day of trade. But on that note, let's get in and talk about, certain updates with respect to the court, as well as a certain RBI circular. And we have Shefali Malik, who is joining us to give us on the same. Shefali, some very interesting moves coming through with the courts coming in over a certain RBI circular. What are the updates here?
Well, yes, first with what has happened. So basically, Supreme Court has quashed the RBI's Feb 12 circular. So what this means is that all those companies and the assets, especially the power assets, which were really distressed and were supposed to be referred to NCLT because of this Feb 12 circular, so that will not happen. So some amount of relief coming in for those power companies and also some of the other companies such as sugar companies, infra companies, etc. So ICRA put out this estimates that a total of about 2 lakh crore rupees of power assets would have been impacted because of this Feb 12 circular, and a total of about 3.8 lakh crore rupees of loans would have been referred to NCLT because of the Feb 12 circular. But now that it has been squashed, so what impact could it have? So a couple of positives and negatives as well. Negative because the credit culture will be spoiled. So basically the recovery process will get prolonged, and also what will the banks really do with regards to the classification of these assets and also the provisioning that they had already done. So what will be the treatment of that? That will be really important. So some estimates which have been put out by ICICI Securities, they had put out a note earlier. So in terms of the stressed power exposure, for instance, State Bank of India had an exposure of about 37,464 crore rupees as of December 2018, and they had made a provisioning of about 46%. So in terms of the percentage of the book value that could have come at risk was about just 6%. Yes Bank, they had an exposure of about 1,500 crores, Bank of Baroda about 6,100 crores, and Axis Bank around 2,500 crores. And they had roughly made a provisioning of about 36 to 50 odd percent. So what will banks do with this provisioning? So that'll be interesting to look forward to. But also the positive way to look at it is, had these assets been referred to NCLT, then that could have meant that the maximum value may not have been realized.
Absolutely.
So positives and negatives, but what will banks now do with these stressed assets? That remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen. Perhaps an important question there. Shefali, thank you for joining us and getting us those updates there. So the banking sector as a whole in focus, but moving on to one stock which has seen considerable declines in today's day of trade, that is Cyient. It's come off by nearly 11%. This is after we had a release from the company suggesting that their revenues growth could be a lot less than what had anticipated. So sequential growth seen at around 1 to 2%, quarter on quarter for the quarter gone by, that's the fourth quarter. And this is largely on account of certain deferment of deals in its largest business, the services business, essentially in the aerospace, defense and communications. And also when it comes to design-led manufacturing, which contributes to another 12% to the overall revenues, that has also seen one large deal get delayed because of a delay from the client's point of view. That deal was, of course, $5 million. But we've spoken to the management, and the management sounds upbeat and confident about some of these aspects eventually playing out in terms of realizations and numbers in the income statement over the course of the next quarter or two. But for now, the stock, of course, has taken a hit. Here's a reminder that when it comes to margins, again, the press release does suggest that, the impact of some of these deferments is margins neutral, which means that it will not have any substantial impact on margins for the fourth quarter, and that perhaps is going to we'll eventually get to know about how the quarter pans out as we move into the earnings season over the next few days. But on that note, it's a wrap on the markets, but lots more lined up. Stay tuned to Bloomberg.